Hi everyone, this is Matt. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to dive deeper into the transition from academia to industry. This is part 2 of this series, and I want to talk to you about my personal experience of why I left academia and then compare academia to industry based on what I've experienced so far. So I had few friends who just became lecturers or associate professors here in the UK and in Germany, and I could tell that they were all stressed, overworked, and generally unhappy with their work-life balance. So I was watching them and thinking, is this something that I could do? And then, if so, how long could I do it for? As we know, 10 years come with a sense of stability, as they are permanent positions, but they are also so rare. So how likely was I to get a tenure, get a permanent position, and when would this happen? In the meantime, the cost of living was rising, is still rising, and I just turned 30. I was thinking about maybe buying a flat or a house. At least I wanted to be in a position where I would be able to buy a flat or a house if I wanted to, and think of starting a family. And I didn't want to live on 2 3 year contracts, one after another. I wanted a bit more stability. So in the pursuit of that stability, I applied for one lectureship position, which I didn't get. However, this experience opened my eyes to the fact that your scientific portfolio, your teaching skills, and your plans for future research and collaborations are just not enough, because you will never know whether the faculty you're applying for is looking for a scientist that will expand and complement the research portfolio, or maybe they're looking for someone who will strengthen the pre-existing research, right? So they will hire someone who does something very, very similar to what they already do. You will never know this, and your interviewers might have split interests and opinions. So you also need to be a little bit lucky in that sense to get a position. So this experience definitely pushed me towards considering a career outside of academia, and I started comparing academia and industry in my head, and eventually came to a conclusion that I I'm going to sacrifice my passion for research and try a job in industry. And once I got a chance, I jumped to industry, and I've been there for nearly a year now. So here's my comparison between the two, based solely on my own experience. You will have so much more stability in industry. Most of the jobs are permanent, and the only thing that you need to worry about is really the whole company going bust, rather than your contract ending in a year, 2 years, 3 years time. So at least here you have a permanent job, and if the company is doing well, then you really don't have anything to worry about. And money is much better in industry. So it is well known that industry pays better, but also it pays you faster. And what I mean by this is that your salary will increase much faster in industry than it will in academia. And if you're a full professor in the UK, you will make really good money, but it will take you, at least a couple of decades to get there. In industry, you can get to the same money much faster. And I think that is the biggest bonus here when it comes to your salary. You will experience much less flexibility in industry. In academia, you could come whenever you wanted and you left whenever you wanted. And also, when it came to booking your holidays, you probably could just talk to your supervisor and then manage to get a holiday just next week, But that was at least my experience. But in industry, it's not this easy. It is a 9 to 5 job, or in my case, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. job every day. And if I want to take a holiday, then I need to give them at least few weeks in advance, and I can take at most 2 weeks off at a time anyway. So I have less flexibility and less freedom in that sense in industry. However, I actually work my contracted hours. So I have my evenings and my weekends to myself. And the only reason why I'm doing this show right now is because I finally have time to do it. When I was a postdoc, I was thinking about doing it, but I just never had time. And that was yet another problem. In academia, I was overworked and I was working 60 plus hours every week, and I just didn't have time for hobbies, projects, and these are just the simple things. And what about if I wanted to have a family? How difficult it must be to be an academic and have a family at the same time. In academia, you will be able to ask your own questions. Well, really, you will only be able to ask them when you're a PI, and they will be restricted by funding bodies because they will not give you money for anything you want to do. You will have to somehow justify it and make sure that it makes sense to them why they want to spend, a couple of hundreds, maybe £1 million on you. So it's not exactly true that you can ask any question you want. However, in industry, you will definitely not ask your own questions. What you will do will be business related. However, the variety you will get in the industry is so much better than in academia. So in academia, you become an expert in your own fairly narrow field. In industry, I work on so many different projects depending on the clients, on the business needs. And within one day, I might be working on a project that deals with a neurological disorder, and then move to a project that is within cardiovascular science. And that's really interesting, and this is what keeps me going, that variety. And I'm still encouraged to ask questions and to contribute scientifically to these projects. However, these are not my original interests, but it's still interesting enough because I get so many different things, and it makes me knowledgeable in so many fields, as in I learn a little bit about so many different things, and it really keeps me engaged. Ownership is a big thing in academia, right? You have your own project and you are the sole owner of your project, or it's you and your PI. However, in industry, it will be you and a whole team of people working on one project, right? So it's not just your project anymore. Well, the beauty of this is when you win all together, but when you fail, you also fail all together. So when something goes wrong, you have a whole team to talk to support each other, to work it out together. And that's something that you will not experience so much in academia, right? Because in the end of the day, it is just your project. And in my experience, people will come and try to help you. But it is not a real project, they will not spend a lot of time, they will not really get invested into trying to help you. However, in industry, you're all together trying to solve a problem because you're all one team. And it's actually quite nice to have this kind of support, and I really enjoy it. Finally, its impact. So, unfortunately, you will not have that much impact in academia on lives of people right now. However, in industry, what I do right now is going to help people in real time, and I'm talking in a couple of years, rather than, oh, I just published a paper and maybe it will help someone else, and then this will help someone else, and eventually in 30 years time someone will come up with an idea how to help people. However, with what I do right now, I have a chance to help people in the coming years, and I love it. It's really, really exciting to be on the edge of science in a way that you're actually able to help people, help patients. Okay, and then you have things like imposter syndrome and work-related depression, and they can both occur in academia and industry. However, based on my own personal experience, they are much more common in academia, unfortunately, because I've seen so many PhDs and postdocs struggling with mental health because of the work-life balance. And this is actually something I want to talk about later at some point, to dive deeper into, because I'm sure a lot of you will relate to my own struggles, and it will be good to hear your thoughts and share some coping techniques. So all in all, industry is still super interesting. You get so many different projects that are engaging. You are actually expected to ask questions, to contribute scientifically, and the salaries are better, the jobs are permanent, and you're not overworked. You're actually encouraged to only work your contracted hours. And then in the end of the day, you have time for hobbies, and you have a chance to settle somewhere down and think of starting a family. Or maybe if this is not what you want to do, it doesn't matter, because you finally have time for other things. It's not just work anymore. So let me know in the comment section your own thoughts on academia and industry, whether you want to transition or not, what are your doubts, and if you enjoy this content and you want more, please like and subscribe. And also, if you do this, it will help YouTube algorithm to push this content to people who actually might benefit from it, might enjoy it. So please, let's share and make sure that as many people can benefit from this as possible. In the next episode, I'm going to talk more about the job search and how to narrow down your choices so you can actually focus and maximize your job applications. Thanks.